There's a new threat out there. It's crypto, and it is being used for terrorist financing. It is being used for drug trafficking. North Korea is using it to pay for about half of its nuclear weapons program. We can't allow that to continue.
U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren just declared war on cryptocurrency. She is doing everything in her power right now to shut down the cryptocurrency industry in the United States. Please, if you know somebody who holds a lot of crypto, this is the video they need to see. This is what you need to show them. And for full context, so this is her yesterday in Congress having a dialogue with the CEO of JPMorgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, about just how awful cryptocurrency is. And I can't believe Jamie Dimon actually said what he says at the end.
Last year, an estimated $20 billion in illicit crypto transactions funded every kind of dangerous criminal. North Korea has funded at least half its missile program, including nuclear weapons, using the proceeds of crypto crime. And Israeli officials have confirmed that Hamas received millions of dollars through crypto transactions, including, quote, large sums from Iran. Mr. Dimon, you've been CEO of JPMorgan for almost 2 decades. Can you explain why crypto is such an attractive financial tool for terrorists, drug traffickers, and rogue nations?
I've always been deeply opposed to crypto, Bitcoin, etc. You pointed out the only true use case for it is criminals, drug traffickers, anti-money laundering, tax avoidance, and that is a use case because it is somewhat anonymous, not fully, and because you can move money instantaneously, and because it doesn't go through, as you mentioned, all these systems have built up over many years, know your customer, sanctions, OFAC, they can get bypass all of that. If I was the government, I'd close it down.
Okay.
Altcoin Daily audience, and again, please send this to a friend. Somebody needs to see this, I guarantee you. Altcoin Daily audience, Bitcoin and crypto hodlers, do not be fooled. So understand this. Manipulation is very common on Wall Street. And what you need to do is actually watch what they do and not just listen to whatever they say. Don't be dumb money, because if I had been watching this and if I wasn't in crypto, I would think either I need to sell my Bitcoin or I need to not get involved at all. That could not be further from the truth. Did you know JPMorgan Chase has 10% equity ownership in Ethereum co-founder Joe Lubin's company Consensus, big Ethereum company? Did you know that JPMorgan is actually already using crypto technology to tokenize US Treasury bonds, mortgage-backed securities, and cash in the form of JPM Coin, which is their private blockchain on Ethereum rails? And did you know, most importantly, Jamie Dimon has a history of market manipulation, fudding Bitcoin, and then behind the scenes buying Bitcoin? Check this out.
On September 12th, Jamie Dimon says Bitcoin is a fraud. He says he'll fire any one of his traders buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin drops 24%. When Jamie Dimon speaks, people listen. So that weekend, we found out that the largest buyer of a Bitcoin fund that's in Europe that buys physical Bitcoin, right? The largest buyer was Morgan Stanley and JPMorgan. And that's not illegal.
He says it's a fraud.
It says he'll fire anyone that buys it. Yes.
And at the same time, his company is buying it.
His company is buying it.
It's just, so unethical.
And Elizabeth Warren is in cahoots with the banks. And understand, yeah, of course banks don't like Bitcoin. That's why Elizabeth Warren is working so hard for them. But taxis didn't like Uber, hotels didn't like Airbnb, stores didn't like Amazon, theaters didn't like Netflix. Doesn't mean any of these weren't revolutionary, doesn't mean any of these went away. Let's talk about her Gary Gensler connection. We understand that Elizabeth Warren works for the banks. She's been doing the bank's bidding regarding crypto for quite some time. This is her a year ago.
Crypto is not an industry with a few scam artists operating around the fringes. Crypto is an industry that is built to favor scammers.
Elizabeth Warren works for the banks. Gary Gensler works for Elizabeth Warren. We understand that the reason why Gary Gensler has been so anti-crypto, despite previously teaching the subject at MIT and demonstrating that he actually does have an understanding of what crypto is, We understand that the reason why Gary Gensler flipped on crypto is because he does the bidding of what Elizabeth Warren wants. Political insider Anthony Scaramucci confirmed this to me.
I think he's on the political take. He's welded to her. She hates crypto. He is a representative of hers, even though he taught crypto and liked things like Algorand when he was an MIT professor.
So what is Elizabeth Warren's master plan? Obviously, we understand that the banks like to keep control, so she's doing the bidding of the banks. They want to stay in control. But besides that, in addition to that, what is she planning next? Listen to this guy very closely. I wish I knew who this guy was or what podcast this is, because he literally spells out exactly her master plan, every word of it.
Why does she hate Bitcoin? Because it's the antithesis of a central bank digital currency. And that's her long-term goal, is to implement a CBDC over time. But in order to prepare the soil for that, she has to make that soil radioactive for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And that's what she's aiming to do with her AML bill. This bill essentially would make it practically illegal for, a teenager mining Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency in his mom's basement. He would have to comply with the same regulatory burdens that a bank like Goldman Sachs has to do. In other words, it would be impossible, right? It would make it illegal to practically touch cryptocurrency or Bitcoin in the United States. But that's by design. Elizabeth Warren intends to do that because if she can get regulations in place that make it impossible to do anything Bitcoin related in the US, she knows she'll drive innovation offshore, and that essentially prepares the way for a CBDC, which is what I believe she's been trying to do this whole time.
Keep in mind, and I'm thankful for, we do have politicians on our side. Here's Tom Emmer on Thinking Crypto podcast. He spells out exactly what's wrong with Elizabeth and Gary. Listen to this guy.
It seems like Gary Gensler, he has Elizabeth Warren behind him. How can we slow Elizabeth Warren down? Because she seems to be the one empowering Gary Gensler.
If the Chinese government cannot shut down crypto completely, I guarantee you that in this country, Elizabeth Warren's not going to be able to do it, and neither is Gary Gensler. Now, we're at another growth point with digital assets, and I can understand how this is very concerning to them, because this goes right at their power. If you and I, if Tony and Tom can do business together directly without having a third-party intermediary, or better yet, not having the government in between our transaction, Tony, we're going to be empowered to do what is best for us without regard to what the government might want us to do. That's the way it should be working. Unfortunately, Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler in that world lose a lot of their power. And I think that's why they're struggling so hard to stop this.
I mean, they're even talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum in presidential primary debates now. I hope they do this for the general election as well. Guys, 2024 is going to turn into a fantastic year. I mean, at the very least, at least the first half of the year with this ETF and the Bitcoin halving. If not, the second half of the year and 2025 even. Now is the time to be in crypto. Do not get washed out because of the FUD. The future is bright. See you tomorrow.